Gary DePaul with Unlabeled Leadership. Welcome to episode 70, Amina Alami enables creativity of students. Here's a shout out to listeners in Pennsylvania, in particular Philadelphia, Harrisburg, State College, Oxford, Phoenixville, Westchester, Fleetwood, Lancaster, Conshohocken, and New Hope. With that, let's get started. What do you do as a retired teacher? Well, the answer for Amina is you teach some more and become a real estate solopreneur. She works in Morocco, and she uses words through articles and short stories to connect with learners. One article in particular stands out, and it's one she wrote in Arabic. It's entitled Freudian Interpretation of Modern Drama. And in this article, she offers a Freudian interpretation of the plays by Tennessee Williams and John Osborne. There's a lot to learn from Amina, and these stories in this podcast are a good place to start. Part 1, When Teachers Believe in Prospective Students. About 7 years ago, when I was researching leadership books, I identified 7 different leadership principles. And the one that I'm most amazed with is the first one, which is believe in others. It sounds simple, easy to do, easy to understand, but as I do these podcasts over and over, I'm finding new examples, new ways in which to understand that simple principle. In this story, Amina, she provides another example of that, and it's from a teacher's perspective. It's starting off with her perspective. And here she is to share her story.
That was when I was 7 years old. You can't believe it, but this is how teachers at the time said something that really inspired me and became my motto in life. She said, when you can see no way out of a situation, create your own way. So I'm going to say it in Spanish.
Oh, great.
She said, Cuando no vea salida a ninguna situación, cree su propio camino. This dated back to my childhood when I was 7. I wanted to study in a Spanish school. The problem at the time was that the school had very few rooms. They were reluctant to accept or to enroll many students. I really insisted. I wanted to learn Spanish. That was a problem for, the school because I was there. I said, I don't want to leave until I start studying Spanish. The problem, as I said, there were very few rooms and they used to accept a limited number of students. When my elder sister took me there were 4 other children waiting to see the director of the school. He met with us along with a middle-aged teacher. That's the teacher who inspired me. Her name was Señorita Laura. I remember her name as if it was yesterday. The director explained that it was impossible to have a study in the school because there were just 3 classrooms and they were already taken. I started crying and I told him that I can bring my chair from my home. And, so he started laughing. At that very moment, the teacher told him, well, when you can see no way out of a situation, create your own way. And then she suggested that she could hold 2 classes in the same room. She already had a class of just 6 students. They were 11 and 12. She said, I could have 2 classes in one class. Seems that this student is really very, very interested in studying Spanish. So why not give her and the other students a chance to study? The director was kind of surprised, but then he said, well, sounds like a great idea. I don't want to let this little persistent kid go. It's worth the effort, trying to give her a chance. So she had a class of 11 to 12 children. She brought a new blackboard to the room and created two classes. I really enjoyed her classes. I remember she used to give us some stories to read while she was teaching the other group maths. But at the same time, she gave us the chance to engage in solving the problems of the other group. At the time, I remember we were really curious to understand what she was teaching. Believe me, sometimes we were able to solve the problems. And she used to reward us with some chocolates and stories. She was an amazing teacher, you know. So she was a great leader, to be honest. And she inspired me to follow suit. And she inspired me to become a teacher.
What I like about that story, what it reminds me of as far as leadership is concerned, is that this one teacher saw the opportunity, observed your desire to be in the school to learn Spanish, and believed in you. And that belief enabled the opportunity to come about. She saw that how you provided a creative solution, and then she leveraged that and made it possible for you to be in the class.
Exactly. As I said, I applied her leadership skills in my teaching. So she was always in my mind. When I was teaching, I even applied, her method, because I used to teach at the American Language Center. I used to teach children. I used the same strategy. I used to reward them with chocolate and stories. So she was my idol. She was a great inspiration to me.
I would have loved to have been in your class. Just for the chocolate.
Just for the chocolate. And the stories as well.
Absolutely. Part 2, meeting people where they're at. If you are a talent development professional and a client comes to you asking for a solution, such as providing training, one of the first things that you'll do or should do is try to understand the situation and what is the problem that you're trying to solve with the client's solution. In other words, you explore the problem and not how to deliver the solution. Amina shares a story where she does just that. She tries to understand her audience, in this case, her new students, and what their needs are. Here's Amina to explain.
I was inspired by that same teacher, always to do the same, to be a leader. In the beginning, as I said, I was teaching the ALC, American Language Center. Then after that, I was teaching part-time in a military and engineering school. I was teaching English as a second language. Before I started, they told me that I have to teach grammar.
Okay.
I met up with the students. They said that the previous teachers taught them grammar and English language, and of course they feel kind of bored. They always have English towards the end of the afternoon, so they're always very tired. So they need something more motivating. They don't need to study grammar, and they need something else. In a way, we were free to choose. Nobody comes to observe us or something in the classroom. We could choose what we want to teach. Ask them about their previous teachers. And they said that most of them, they missed classes because they found them really boring. They wanted something else. Then I thought, why not just do something very creative? Not just creative, but innovative. I told them that our course is going to be in the form of creating products.
Oh, okay.
It is really, It was kind of too ambitious, but I said, why not? I wanted to do everything because I hate seeing students feeling bored, as I've been teaching for quite a long time, like more than 25 years. So then we agreed that we're going to try and create product. But this didn't start as, in the beginning by creating product, but it was a kind of process, exploring ideas. They really enjoyed my class. They came regularly. They never missed classes. And it was really fun. Many of them created a lot of products. They created the prototypes. And since they had a section in their school, they were able to market their product.
Well, what's an example of a product that a student produced?
They were studying construction. One of them created a tool to place in rooms, and it absorbs humidity.
Ah,
It was a great success. We do have a group of innovation, an association of innovation within the school. And of course, he won a prize for that. These especially for some coastal areas, like the place where we are. We are right now in a city in the north of Morocco. To be honest, in winter, it's really, really very, very humid. It's a great product. There were many other products. There were some different apps.
Oh, like for phones, smartphones?
Yeah, for phones. Yeah, for smartphones. Yeah. This was just for 1 year. I taught them for a year.
They did these projects and created products and this one device. Did they do this in English? Is that how you connected the?
Yeah, they do it in English. Yeah, because it's a well-known school in Bat, in the capital, and they already have a group of innovation in their school. There are a lot of companies that sponsor them. You see? So this is this is what helps facilitate their task of creativity and innovation.
You're teaching innovation with English or through English?
Yeah. This is it, because normally I teach just English as a second language. But at the ALC, the American Language Center, I used to teach innovation. It's about the same course. I used to teach it. Actually, it was my course. I created it as I took many online classes about innovation. And this helped me a lot.
Part 3, Learning through Observation. We gain perspective when we pay attention. When we pay attention to how we interact and how others interact, pay attention to situations, and we use those to gain insight into life and how we live our lives. Amina shares a story that illustrates this, and she also shares some advice. Here's Amina.
If only we pay attention and live in the present moment, there are so many things that may seem small and insignificant, but they hold so much meaning and depth. One habit, this is real, it's my habit actually, one habit I have is to carry a notepad, a notebook everywhere I go. And I jot down things I noticed or words of wisdom I hear from people. I go over notes when I get home and try to classify them in categories and reflect on them to see how I can incorporate some of them in my life. One day I was walking down the street and I overheard two women talking. One of them was complaining about how hard life was. And she was talking about her problems with her husband and the children. And, she was really complaining. She had a hard time. She was going through tough things. And she was telling another older woman about it. I noticed that the other woman who was listening, she was silent. She was just listening. She didn't say anything. When the other one finished, she said, well, she kind of made a pause and like as if to reflect on what the other woman said. And she told her, why are you complaining? I noticed that you've been complaining right from the beginning. I have something for you. Why don't you go just for 1 hour, go to the hospital and see how people suffer and see what they are going through. When you go there, I'm sure that you will understand that nothing is more important than being in good health. Now, you're complaining about your children, you're complaining about your husband, but you have to know that you are lucky. You are really lucky to be just healthy, because if you spend just 1 hour in a hospital, you would understand that you should be grateful every single day just for being healthy.
Which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It definitely gives you perspective of what you have versus focusing on what you don't have and what you desire to have.
Yeah.
And it makes such good sense.
Yeah. There's another habit that I have that could be useful, and it is Whenever I have time, I go forest bathing and I bask in the beauty of nature to be inspired. When you go to nature, you can see how small insects, lead, like ants, for example. They are a good example of leadership. And how flowers bloom. For me, nature is the teacher. Nature is my favorite place to learn about life as well.
Well, the ants is a good example and how they communicate with one another, how they're able to convey
Yeah,
where food sources are. It's continuously helping one another to be able to thrive in that particular environment.
yeah, absolutely.
The note taking is a great idea because there's so much that we observe that when we don't bring a notebook with us, first we may see something, observe it, become aware of it, and then forget about it. But if you have your notebook,
Yeah,
you're able to write it down. And I think having a notebook also helps you become more attentive to your surrounding as well.
yeah,
And taking your notebook into the forest, into nature, I think it would be another thing that would be very helpful.
yeah, absolutely. And it inspires me to write, to get ideas to write my posts sometimes. It's a great thing.
Thanks to Amina Alami. If you'd like to learn more about Amina, go to the show notes. And if you have a question or comment, go to unlabelleadership.com, click the message icon, and you can leave a voicemail up to 1 minute. I'd like to thank those who contribute to the show. Your contributions helps offset some of the production costs. This helps because this is a volunteer podcast. Mostly though, I'd like to thank you for listening. Until next time, lead on.